All right, I figure with the release of the new TechT insert bolts here, we can do a little rundown of some of the, other bolts that exist for the G6R, my thoughts on those, and then, maybe what you should be rocking in your G6R. So kind of starting at the beginning, you have the stock Bob Long bolt. The problem with these, and it's one of those paintball-y things that I guess everybody knows at this point. Every Planet Eclipse ego for the past 100 years has had a flat face. Nobody likes, Venturi bolts, that cut balls anymore. The ball is going to roll back into the bolt face. The next ball on top then will be offset, and when it comes forward, you're going to clip the bottom of it. You're going to break more paint. So Planet Eclipse has a really fantastic video with a gun, cut away, so you can see that in action, and that's why all of their stuff has, kind of a ramped face. They have their offset feed necks and all of that. But on the Bob Long stuff, I don't think anything with a cupped face is the bolt you should be using. Not to say that these don't shoot totally fine, but that kind of moved on to, their pillow stuff. So this is the pillow bolt. As you can see, it keeps the ball from, rolling back into the bolt. The little pillow just keeps it nice and straight. So you're not going to run into many G6Rs that are, still with one of these. If you do, I would say grab a, something with a pillow tip. But also, it's tough to say because in between, this stock bolt and, they had these at the same time. This is Empire spec. So these take like Axe, these kind of bolt inserts, these little Exalt bolt tips, which I think is a really underrated bolt. So it's a little bit louder because on all of the, pillow tip bolts, you can see there's an aluminum insert in here that has, some porting around it. So it's going to quiet your shot down a little bit more than just a big open, air chamber here. So this is going to be, I don't even want to say louder, but it's going to sound a little bit different than this one. I like the sound of something with, some porting, some air channels in it better than I like the sound of, an open bolt. But I think the pillow face bolt is better than the pillow tip bolt because one, you're not going to shoot out your pillow. It's just a matter of time until you shoot out or break a pillow on a pillow bolt. It's going to happen. The pillow face, if for some reason something ever goes wrong with this is just a standard part. I think this is a real underrated bolt. But you'll notice on all of these, the big thing is, one, to try to prevent blowback here. All of these inlets are sealed, but, you've seen those G6Rs, guys. You knock your gun around, your bolt sliding back. No one, really hand fits their O-rings. So you're getting blowback on stock Bob Long bolts, and they're a little bit louder than they need to be, which kind of brings us to, that first version TechT bolt. So I really like the way they do their inlets on the TechT bolts. I think this is a sick design. I don't think it's quieter. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I think the sound profile is different enough where it's something that you can say that you prefer, which I do. I think the, bolt face is ramped a bit more aggressively. You're going to get a little bit less clipping, but, look at this cupped face. Trash. Nobody likes that. So, 10 years later, now we have the new one, which for all intents and purposes is effectively the same bolt, but you have some nice interchangeable faces here. I, of course, will be going with, the one with the inlets, the little porting on here, because I really like the sound of the OG TechT bolt here. So this is that, but with a flat face, so a little bit more compliant. You're not going to have as much clipping issues. Another small change that I haven't seen mentioned yet is that they've actually created more volume where the air is transferred here on the inlet. So you can see that the back here is milled down a little bit further, closer to the O-ring, and the stem is actually probably 20% thinner. So holes on here are a little bit bigger. They're not being drilled into the stem. So, I think you're gonna get a little bit better, air transfer. It's ramped a little bit nicer. You don't have this kind of thick section right here. They've made it nice and small. Nice little quality of life improvements here. I generally switch mine out with the, harder, a little bit bigger O-rings. There's really no wiggle on these. If you're easily kind of wiggling it in there, size up on the O-rings. But just to kind of give you an idea here, here it is in the breech. You can see it extends a little bit. It's a little, like a micron longer, and that flat face, you put that in there and that ball is just, we're not slopping around. It just keeps it right on those detents. So, in the case of this here, almost perfectly vertical. It's just sitting in there. That bolt's going to come through, load the next one, not moving around. For comparison here, on the OG TechT bolt, you can see, you put this in, and you can, falls back in there. You can see it moving around. So that's where you start running into your clipping issues. I mean, look how far forward the bolt has to come before it is stationary. So I don't think a cupped face, we learned that lesson with like the, Ego 6, right? Like cupped face is just, let's not do that anymore. But to give you an idea, here is a pillow tip bolt. I certainly think from a paint handling perspective, from a compliant face perspective, pillow tip bolt is really nice. So really keeps it nestled in there, as well as the new TechT. I think from a ball stack perspective, both of these seem to be equally as good. I've shot maybe 20 rounds with this, no issues. So the pillow stuff is also very nice, but I'm not going to say better or worse, but I think the sound on the TechT is better, and you're getting less blowback, because even though they both have these same two O-rings here, air is going to escape around your inlet. And on the TechT, that's fine. It's going to be rechanneled still into your, down your barrel. This one you can get, not everything into this port here. So, objectively, you're going to see on the TechT, plus 10 feet per second, easily. I think if you hand fit your O-rings on the TechT and you put it in your gun, you will have an increase in FPS. You will be able to lower some of your pressures. So I think where the old TechT was actually a downgrade in paint handling, not that I really had any issues with it, but certainly not where I would want it to be. This is much better for paint handling. I think you're going to have a lot more longevity. I think it's going to be easier on paint. And then also I like the sound of the TechT bolts. So, if you're in the market for a new bolt, I think even if you have the old style TechT, I think definitely a big enough difference to warrant, an upgrade. I think having a flat face in 2023 in a G6R is a no-brainer. But, I never switched everything over to pillow bolts just because I love the sound on these TechTs so much. So now, best of both worlds.